Welcome to the All for Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of All for Your Life. And today we're going to be talking about winning. Don't we all love to win? Don't we love it when we win at work? Don't we love it when our sports team wins? Don't we love it when our child wins in one of the events at their school sports day? We love to win. But we must examine the relationship with winning very carefully. And we must also look at the place and prominence that winning plays in our life. And this is what I'd like to talk to you about a little bit more today. And I want to start with some research into some of the pinnacles of winning. Olympic athletes, the fittest, strongest, fastest people in the world. These are people that we look at and consider winners. But interestingly, when you start to break down the athletes and start to break down the small differences between each of them, ultimately what allows them to win a medal, to not win a medal, to win a different color medal to someone else, we start to see some interesting differences in their psychology and how they look at winning. So there was a study done in the 90s at the Olympic Games in Atlanta, if I remember correctly, which was 1996. And they looked at the satisfaction of the medal winners. And they wanted to see who was most satisfied with their medals and how much the final position influenced that athlete's overall satisfaction with the event and ultimately the games itself. Unsurprisingly, gold medalists showed the most satisfaction, but the second place was not the silver. The second place was the bronze medalists. Bronze medalists at these Olympic Games were happier and more satisfied with their performance than the silver medalists, even though objectively they had placed lower. Now, why was this? Well, the psychologists looked and they theorized and later confirmed with some follow-up questionnaires and interviews that when someone wins a bronze medal, they stand on the podium and they look at all the other exceptional athletes that they've beaten, and they consider themselves grateful and lucky and privileged to have beaten all of those other stars to the podium. Thus, the bronze medalist is not looking at what they didn't win, but looking at what they did win. The silver medalist, on the other hand, is not doing that, because the silver medalist isn't looking at all of the other athletes that they beat. They are looking at the one athlete that they didn't beat. They look at how close they are to the gold medal and ultimately that they missed out. Their point of focus is completely different to the bronze medalists. They're focused not on what they gained, not the achievement, not the excellence of their performance. They look at what's missing. They look at what they didn't get, a very key difference. And when we start to look a little bit more into this notion of winning and how important that gold medal in particular for Olympic athletes are, an astonishing study and survey was carried out where they looked at Olympic athletes or athletes who are preparing to try to get into the Olympics, and they said, if you died in the next 5 years but you won a gold medal at the Olympics, would you be happy? And over 50% of the participants said yes. They said yes, they'd be quite happy to die in 5 years' time as long as they won that gold medal. Now that is crazy and that is scary. It's scary about how much emphasis and importance is placed on winning, on achievement. At the end of the day, the Olympics does have a significance. There is a meaning and a purpose behind what achieving a gold medal is, but ultimately at the end of the day, it is just a piece of metal. And some people were willing to die for this piece of metal. Now this is where linking achievement to our overall life satisfaction and our happiness is a very careful relationship that we have to manage. And I actually have a recent example of this where I had to really remind myself of my relationship between achievement and happiness. So I was competing in the annual Toastmasters speech competition. Every year there's an international competition with all the clubs in the Toastmasters organization all over the world compete in this. Individuals enter into the speech contest, they prepare a speech, and they get as far as they can in the competition. So it starts off just in your club, and if you win the club contest, then you compete against other clubs in your area. If you win that contest, then you compete against other clubs in a bigger area, and then a bigger area, and then you're in the semi-finals, then you're in the finals. So there's a load of qualifying stages to go through, progressively going up against more and more competitive speakers. So I'd come into the position where I had won my club contest, I'd won my area contest, and I was now in the division contest. So I came from my club in Glasgow and won that. I then won the competition against all the other clubs in Glasgow, and now I was going forth to represent my club against all of Scotland, the whole country. I was competing against 8 top speakers from all over the country. Now this is the first time that I'd ever been up to this level, and in terms of my expectations before the competition, I said, all I want to do is give a good speech. I want to serve, I want to inspire, and I want to move as I always do. And the placing doesn't matter. As long as I feel I've got on stage and I've spoken to the best of my ability and I get positive feedback about people enjoying it, being moved by it, that's all that matters to me. So I went into the contest in this frame of mind. And I was 6th out of the 8 speakers to speak. So I watched some of the others speaking, and number 4, there was this lady at number 4 who did an exceptional speech. I was watching the other speakers before, and they all had good speeches, but I thought, yeah, they're all about the same level. I don't see too much difference between them, between 1, 2, and 3. But this lady came on at 4, and I was like, whoa, that was a really, really good speech, really well delivered, really moving, a really entertaining and inspiring story. And I thought to myself, the other speakers have got to be good to beat that lady. That was a phenomenal performance. And so we went through, number 5 came, then it was my turn, number 6, and I went onto stage, and I feel that I fulfilled my expectations. I delivered the speech how I wanted to, I got my message across how I wanted to, I felt emotionally connected to the audience. So when I sat down, I was pleased with the performance that I'd given. Then came 7, then came 8, and then when we had all spoken, we were getting judged by 4 separate judges, and they went away to cross-examine their marks and ultimately declare who the winners were. And I thought to myself, after seeing everyone and also being there myself, I thought, number 4 deserves to win. Her speech was really, really good. Obviously, I would like to win, and to a certain extent you can't really judge your own speech because obviously you have a self-bias. So taking myself out of the picture, I thought, completely taking myself out of the picture, out of the other 7 contestants, this lady deserves to win. Putting myself into the picture, I still would be disappointed if she won ahead of me. I'd be very pleased with that. So the judges come back in, they have their final results, and 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place were announced. In 3rd place was lady number 4. This lady who I thought had delivered an incredible speech, she came 3rd, and suddenly I thought, whoa, if she's come 3rd, then in my eyes the contest is kind of blown wide open again. Because I saw her as being the best, and I thought, well, she's finishing 3rd, then any of us could finish above her, and if any of us could finish above her, then why not me? So I'm sitting there, and in 2nd place, it's David McRae. just felt a twinge of disappointment. Just like those silver medalists at the Olympics, I thought, if I'm finishing second and she's finishing third, then who won first place? So I went up and I collected my certificate and I came back, and ultimately one of the other speakers got judged first, and I thought, wow, it just goes to show how subjective these things are, because I would have placed the lady at third in first place, and if she wasn't winning, then I kind of thought I had a pretty good chance of winning. So immediately I had to test the validity of that intention that I'd set at the beginning of the day. The intention that I'd set at the beginning of the day was I wasn't worried about placing at all. If I didn't even finish on the podium, as it were, I'd be happy with that as long as I delivered a good speech. But suddenly things were a little different now that I had placed. I'd come second. And just like those silver medalists, there was a part of me that looked at first place and thought, I could have won that. There can't have been a lot of difference there, and if I'd done something else smaller, something a little better, maybe it would have been me up there. And there was also a part of me that thought, you know what, my speech was better than theirs. That first place has been stolen from me. So I had all these thoughts of the ego and negative self-talk running through. But after the results were announced and ultimately the competition finished, I had people come up and say, wow, I really enjoyed your speech. I was really moved. I really enjoyed your story. You've got a wonderful manner and presence on stage. One lady came up and said, I actually had tears in my eyes as I was speaking to her. And I thought, you know what? There's no prize that can be given for that. For people to come up and say those things and have that kind of connection, you don't win an award for that. And no award is necessary for that. That is what's important to me. That, to me, is what winning is all about. It didn't matter that I didn't win that speech contest. What mattered was I went there and I delivered a speech that I was proud of and other people responded to in such a lovely manner. So the lesson of all this is that when you look at your life and when you look at what winning means to you, do you place too much emphasis on the end result, on the achievement? If you go into a contest and you're only happy if you get first place, well, you've got a good chance of being disappointed, first off. And second of all, even if you do win, just like I had won previously, I'd won my club contest, I won my area contest, and yeah, winning felt great. It felt really good to be like, yes, my speaking ability is recognized, my speech is recognized, the effects of my speaking is recognized. But if I was only happy with that first place, I had to keep on chasing that all the way out the competition. So I didn't just need to be first in my club, not just first in my city of Glasgow, not just first in my country of Scotland, but I had to be first in Europe. I had to be first in the world. And quite frankly, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment that way. You're setting yourself up for being unhappy, for being resentful. And even if I did go all the way through to winning the World Championship, well, what comes next after that? What happens when you've made all these achievements and you're still not happy? Because the thing about any achievements, what I've witnessed personally in my life over and over again, and I know from speaking to loads of other people as well, and all of the case studies and science and psychology and research supports this, is that any achievement, no matter how grand, running a marathon, climbing Mount Everest, running the world's best seminar, being the world's best speaker, winning the World Cup, all of these things, even the big achievements, have a fleeting and temporary effect on happiness. These achievements do not make us nearly as happy as we think they will, for nearly as long as we think they will. Eventually it fades. I won the gold medal at the Olympics. What next? We won the World Cup. what next? I got the degree, I got the letters before my name, after my name. I got the top job, I got CEO, I got the salary, I got the house, I got the car, I got all these things that I set out to do. But what's next? Achievement is not a reliable predictor of happiness. It's not just enough to get to the destination. What we also need to do is enjoy the journey along the way. By all means, have big goals. By all means, have big ambitions. You know, I did want to win that competition. I did want to go into the next round of the competition and win that as well. There's nothing wrong with having big ambitions. But you've got to enjoy the journey as well. If you're killing yourself, if you're sacrificing too much in your life to get the gold medal, to get the CEO position, to get the letters before or after your name, you need to really carefully consider whether the sacrifices you're making now are going to be worth that achievement in the future. Sometimes they can be, but oftentimes they're not. So you've got to balance winning and happiness. You've got to balance achievement and happiness, and you've ultimately got to judge what winning means for you. Is winning just about the achievement, or is it about more than that? Is it about the meaning? Is it about the purpose? Is it about the growth? Is it about the contribution? Is it about the love that you experience through this accomplishment? And what I did on that day before the contest was I defined what winning was for me. I set the intention of what it would mean to win. And I didn't need that first place to get it. All I needed to do was move one person, inspire one person in that audience, and that counted as winning. And with that definition and that intention, I did win. And that made me happy, not the fancy medal at the end. So folks, I want you to remember that you are the author of your life. You decide what makes you happy. You decide what winning comprises of, because you hold that pen and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story. I'll speak to you soon. David. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be. Because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.